If your plumbing team keeps making the same mistake over and over, the problem may not be the mistake. The problem may be that nothing changed after the last one. And that's what's missing. Let me give you a simple plumbing example. A tech finishes a job. The work is done, customer's happy. But the notes in the systems are weak. No pictures, no clear summary, no details for the office, no records of what was explained to the client. The job feels completed to the tech because the work physically was done. But later, the office gets a call. The customer has a question and nobody knows exactly what happened. Now, the owner gets pulled in and the owner gets frustrated. Why don't these guys enter their notes? So he tells the tech, you need to do better notes. The tech says, got it. And next week, same thing happens. Why? Because do better notes is not clear enough. Think about it. Better compared to what? What does good look like? When do notes need to be entered? Before leaving the driveway? Before closing the ticket? What pictures are required? What customer conversations need to be documented? What happens if the notes are missing? Who checks it? That's the difference. You see, weak businesses rely on reminders. Strong businesses define what done looks like. And that is the phrase I want you to remember. Define what done looks like. Because many team mistakes happen because the owner has a standard in his head, but the team is working from assumptions. The owner thinks they should know this, but should know is not a standard. And the owner thinks that's common sense, but common sense is not a process. And again, the owner thinks, I already told them. But telling them once is not the same as building the expectation into the business how as it runs. And now you start thinking, are they not listening? Do they not care? How many times do I have to say this? I get it, because when you're the owner, repeated mistakes feel personal. It feels like disrespect. It feels like carelessness. It feels like your team is not paying attention. But here's the truth. A mistake that happens once may be a people problem. Certainly, a mistake that happens again and again is a systems problem. Let me say that again. A mistake that repeats is no longer just a mistake. It's a system, because your business is already producing that result. The missed notes, the forgotten part, the bad handoff, the unclear customer expectation, the truck not being restocked, the callback that should have avoided. Those things are not random. They keep happening. They are signals, and most plumbing owners miss the signal because they're too busy correcting the person. That is where the trap starts. The owner sees the mistake, the owner gets frustrated, the owner says something. The employee says, yeah, sorry, won't happen again, and everybody moves on. But nothing actually changes. So the business goes right back to the same pattern. And then the owner is shocked when the same thing happens again. But you should not be shocked, because the system has never changed. You only had a conversation. And a conversation is not a system. This is why so many owners feel like they're repeating themselves all day long. They're not really leading the business, they're reminding the business and reminding the people what should have happened. But reminders do not scale, and reminders do not create consistent execution. They just create this temporary awareness. That is why someone can agree with you in a moment and still repeat that same mistake 2 weeks later. Not because they're evil or stupid or they don't care, but because the business has no closed loop. Here's what I mean. A mistake happens, but then what? Where does it get captured? Who looks at it? What caused it? Was it clear expectations or what? Most owners skip that part. They jump straight into correction. But correction without diagnosis just creates frustration. It sounds something like this. Don't forget to take pictures. Make sure you write better notes. Stop leaving the truck like that. Call the customer before arriving. Don't leave the job until the job is complete. All that may be true, but if the same issues keep showing up, you do not need a louder reminder. You need a better loop. So here's the question. What happens in your business after mistakes happen? Not emotionally, operationally. Does it get written down? Does it get reviewed? Does the process change? Does someone check the next 3 times? Or does everybody just get annoyed, talk about it, and just move on? Because if you move on, you're almost guaranteeing that mistake will come back. But telling someone once is not the same as building the expectation into the way the business runs. That is why the best owners do not just correct the mistake, they close the loop. And there are 4 parts to that. First, catch the repeat. Do not chase every tiny mistake. Look for the ones that keep coming back. The same callback, the same missing note, the same truck issue, the same customer complaint. If it happens once, coach through it. If it happens twice, start paying attention. If it happens 3 times, stop treating it like an individual issue. That is now a business issue. Second, name the breakdown. Don't just say John messed up. Ask, where did that process break? Was the expectation unclear? Was the job rushed? Was a standard missing? Was the person trained? Was there a checklist? Did the office hand it off clearly? Did the dispatch give the right information? Did the tech know what success looked like? This matters because if you name the wrong problem, you will fix the wrong thing. If you blame attitude when the real issue is unclear process, you will create resentment. By the same token, if you blame the process when the real issue is someone refusing to follow the standard, you would tolerate too much. So name the breakdown clearly. Third, fix the process. This is where most owners stop too soon. They have the conversation, but they do not change how the work happens. If job notes keep getting missed, create a job closeout checklist. If trucks keep leaving without parts, create a restocking rhythm. If customers keep getting the wrong expectations, create a clear system call script or arrival script. If callbacks keep happening because jobs are rushed, define what must be checked before the job is closed. If the office keeps asking for updates, define when updates happen and where they get entered. The fix does not have to be difficult, by the way. In fact, it should be very simple. One checklist, one rule, one standard, one review point, one visible expectation. That is usually enough to start changing the behavior. Fourth, inspect the next few steps. Most owners correct the mistake and assume it is fixed. That is a bad assumption. If something has been repeated, you have to inspect it the next few reps. Not forever, just enough to make sure the new standard is real. Check the next jobs 3 times, review the next 3 tickets, look at the next 3 customer handoffs, inspect the next 3 truck restocking, because what you inspect becomes what people respect. And that is not micromanaging. Micromanaging is hovering because you do not trust anyone. Inspecting is checking whether the standard is actually being followed. That is leadership. And when you do this right, something changes. Your conversations change. Instead of saying, how many times do I have to tell you? You start saying, where did the loop break? And you start building a business that learns. That is the goal, a business that learns from its mistakes. Because here's the truth. Your team will make mistakes, right? That's a fact. That is normal. Your business will have problems. That is normal. Customers will complain, jobs will go sideways, parts will get missed, communications will break. That is part of running a plumbing company. The issue is not whether mistakes happen, the issue is whether the same mistakes keep happening over and over again. That is where money leaks, that is where trust drops, that is where customers get frustrated, that is where owners burn out, and that is where the business stays dependent on the owner. Because every repeated mistake eventually comes back to the person who cares the most. And you know what? In most plumbing businesses, that is the owner. So if you feel like your team keeps making the same mistakes, don't just ask who messed this up. Ask, what did this mistake just revealed about our business? That one question will make you a better leader, because now you're not just reacting, you're improving. You're turning frustration into structure, you're turning mistakes into standards, and that is how the business grows up. Not because nobody makes mistakes, we know that, but because the business stops making the same mistakes over and over again. By the way, if this is the kind of stuff you're dealing with in your shop, I built a free community called Home Service Growth Up. Real owners, real systems, real conversations. The link is in the comment. So here's the challenge for this week. Pick one repeat mistake. Just one, not 10, one. The one that keeps costing you time, money, and frustration. Then ask, where did the loop break? What does done right actually look like? What simple checklist, rule, standard would prevent this? And how will we inspect the next few reps? Do that with one repeat mistake and you will start feeling the business get stronger. Because the answer is not to repeat yourself louder. The answer is to build a business that learns faster. That is how you stop being the owner who has to keep reminding everybody and become the leader of a company that gets better every single week. If this hits home, subscribe, because this channel is about helping plumbing owners build more structure, more leadership, and more freedom. So build the structure, free the owner, and I'll see you in the next video.